Low down with the Lions. Give you what you want. We'll give you what you need.
They are back big time.
Going off on tangents, going off the rails. It's what we do here. 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 Lions low down. We bring the low down. We bring the low down. We bring the low down.
G'day Lions fans, Ash here, and welcome back to the Lions Lowdown. I am getting this out a day late after had a bit of a tough week family-wise and some other things going on at the moment. So I wasn't sure if I was going to get this one out, and thanks to producer Steph for jumping on the socials over the last couple of days and just taking care of a few bits and pieces there. And yeah, I guess I'll just get straight into it. And before I do selection and that sort of thing, just a little bit of news and other things that are happening around the club. So the biggest news at the moment, well, there's two big bits of news, and they both involve the two senior coaches at the club, AFL and AFLW senior coaches. So I'll start with the AFL because that's the in-season now. Chris Fagan is coaching his 200th game this weekend against the Hawks, and he will be the first person to coach 200 AFL games without actually having played in the AFL. Now, we know he played a lot of state league football in Tasmania and was an absolute champion down there. And from memory, I think he played some state football against Victoria as well. And he does have a really big, great coaching resume. And I guess from Fagan's point of view, possibly might be a bit of an extra milestone for him in that he is coaching his 200th game at AFL level against the Hawks, the club where he sort of really made his name the most as a football manager, and might have been director of coaching and had some other roles there. Now, the other big coaching news is from the AFLW point of view, and the best coach in the business, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, many, many others. Craig Starcevich has extended his contract for an extra year, so he'll be on board for the next 2 seasons until the end of 2026, possibly beyond. And why would we not continue his tenure with the club? He's been amazing over the last 9 seasons, so 8 years, 9 seasons since he's been taken over and been in charge, and he has a long history as well of coaching and being involved in player development and other things in the Queensland junior football and female football space, as well as being the coach in at least one of the exhibition games between the Western Bulldogs and the Melbourne Demons back in around 2015 or 16. Can't remember exactly which one. I reckon it was 16. And I went to that one at the Whitten Oval. I reckon the Western Bulldogs had an enormous win, and I was barracking for the Demons. I felt that was the lesser of two evils, to be honest. So Stas has said in his presser that he's been blown away by the first preseason session, where more than half the team ran PBs for the 2K trial. Of course, Ola O'Dwyer was right up there. I'm pretty sure she won it. That's just a yearly thing. It was always Ola O'Dwyer and Harry Sharp. When he was at the club, you kind of just knew that they would be the two in each of their respective teams. Now, back to Fagan. So he, I believe, is contracted until the end of 26 as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens from there on, and I will expand on that a bit later when I do a bit of Q&A with some of the listeners. But Fagan did sort of really sort of forthright in saying that once his time at the Lions finishes in the coaching space, that'll be it. He won't be coaching anywhere else. So Tasmania, you might have to try and get him in another capacity, or you might not get him at all because we love him and we want to keep him at our club because he's a legend and he delivered us to the promised land and may do it again this year. I'll also expand on that later. So we have speaking of the Starcevich family, we have a timeline for Brandon Starcevich to return to football and have a bit of a trade rumour regarding him as well. So firstly, the return to football is looking around about 3 to 5 weeks away now. He has joined full training. I believe he's doing full contact training. I don't know if it's every session or how often it is, but I do know that he has done at least 1 or 2 sessions in that sort of regard. Now, there's a bit of a trade rumour, and this surfaced on another podcast that is run by a pretty big media organisation over in the West. So take it with a grain of salt and make of it what you will. But Brady Hoff at the West Coast Eagles, who basically does the same role there as what Stars does for us, has started playing in the midfield and doing really well. Like, good on him. He's a gun footballer, and he's a really good young talent, and he's really shone since being moved to the midfield in the last week or two. Now, the rumour is, and this person seems to maybe have some inside info, is that the Eagles are looking to develop him in the midfield to open up a space in the back six for Brandon Starcevich should he choose to return home to Western Australia next year. So it's a bit of an interesting one. So Stars doesn't have any connection to the Eagles per se. I know his sister and possibly his mum and dad were Eagle supporters, or are, whichever way you want to look at it. But he was a Freo fan, so yeah, before being drafted. So it could be interesting there. But yeah, I guess, look, it's just one of those watch and act things. We all want to keep Stars because he's a great footballer for our club. Probably deserved to be an All-Australian last year, in the opinion of many. And he's a premiership player at our club, so we'll always have that little piece in our heart for him. But also, he's been through a lot of crap with the concussions and some other things at different times. So, well, it's totally understandable if he does need a change. But yeah, would love to keep him. He's an absolute ripping bloke too. In the times that I've come across him at family days and that sort of thing, it's been really good to everybody. Okay, moving on. The Big O, Oscar Macaroni. He has an injury, and there's not a lot of direct information coming out about it on what the injury is. So I'm not going to speculate or make up stories or whatever. I'm not Sam McClure. I didn't read something on Big Footy and then run with it. Now, where it gets interesting is that the Big O has been listed as managed this week, so he's not in the senior team. And yet he's also listed as an emergency, and I believe he's travelling with the team this weekend. So that is quite interesting there. And I will expand as well on the ruck situation at the club, because that has come in as a question from some listeners, and I'll just read out one of those questions when the time comes. Now, speaking of listeners, so Paul, who's a pretty well-known listener and a big friend at the show, I have met Paul in person last year or so, and he's sent in a private message to me personally, but as well, he posted this in at least one Lions group on Facebook. Now, I'm only in one, so he could have posted to all of them. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to read out what he's written verbatim. Everyone who is having a meltdown over one loss needs to chill. As reigning premier in 2002, we lost 5 games and won the flag. 2003, we lost 7, drew 1, and won the flag. 2004, we lost 6 and made the granny. This year, we're on track to lose 4 to 5 games. I guess that's just going by the fact that we're round 10 and we've lost 2.5 so far. It's not the end of the world. And he finishes up by saying, you're not going to win every game, guys, so be cool until there's a reason to not be cool. Yeah, look, I'm pretty down with all that. Now, I am going to expand on it a little bit here. Just opening up a little graphic I've got on my computer screen there. So after 10 rounds in all of the Brisbane Lions premiership years, so just in the Brisbane Lions era, so not including, or the Bears didn't win any AFL premierships, they won AFL reserves, and not including the Fitzroy, because I guess the relevance just sits with the more modern times. So 2001, after 10 rounds, we were 5-5. 2002, we were 7-3, so pretty similar situation to where we are now. 2003, we were 8 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. So 1 win better off than where we are now. 2024, 3 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. And 2025, the current season, 7 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. So when putting that into perspective, 2025, this season, is our second best round 10 position in all the premiership years. And I'm kind of manifesting that we're going to win the premiership again this year. Who knows what's going to happen? Hopefully we do. So, yeah, so 03, we're 1 win better off, and 02, we're 1 loss worse off. We're half a game better off this year. And look, most people really feel that 02 was the ultimate Brisbane Lions season as far as how good the team was and everything else. 2003 is my favourite grand final win. Always will be. You beat Collingwood by that much, but yeah, I had a much greater feeling inside my bones that year. So that's just a little expansion on that. I don't think there's a lot to worry about right now. I mean, it's not the worst situation to be in. It's not the best. Obviously, there's a team who are half a win better off than us at the moment, being Collingwood. And you know what? They did beat us earlier in the season, and they're still only half a game in front. They're not a whole game in front. So we're not doing too badly. Obviously, our percentage isn't great, but I'm not a big, I don't get overly caught up in the percentage debate. At the end of the day, if you win the most games, doesn't matter what your percentage is, because you're going to be first. If you win the second most games, you're going to be second, generally. Yeah, it's you just got to put space between yourself and the next team on the ladder. And that's, if you're in first and second or fifth and sixth, you're going to get a home final. And generally, you're going to get a second chance. So obviously, you want to finish top 4, you want to finish top 2, home final. You win that, you're straight through to the prelim. And, yeah, just keep winning. So a big talking point this week has been a bit of mental health awareness within the playing group in the AFL in particular. Now, we were rocked by the death of Adam Selwood, former West Coast Eagles player and AFLW coach of the West Coast Eagles as well, during the week. And we, as Lions fans, probably feel a big connection to Adam through his twin brother, Troy, who played for the club and also passed away about 3 or so months ago, just a bit under that. So I really want to just, I guess, extend, and I can't remember if I said anything about this on the previous episode, but I do just want to extend again my commiserations and my heartfelt sympathies to the Selwood family. They are a great football family, an amazing bunch of people, and Adam was due to do some really good things for the mental health space. He was going to be running to raise money for that. Now, where I want to, I guess, have an opinion on this is, and I got to ask this during the week, what role do I think the mainstream media plays in depression amongst AFL and AFLW players, and I guess plays in any sport really? But we're here to talk about the AFL. So, yeah, look, I think the mainstream media and people on social media really do play a massive role. I mean, a lot of shit gets said about players. A lot of it's unnecessary. And I'll give you an example. So this week, Kane Corns, who's really getting on everyone's goat at the moment, but he came out with something on SEN. Now, I didn't listen to it. I saw a tweet on the SEN, is it called tweet, a post on the SEN X account this week, where they said, and they quoted Kane Corn saying that Latham Vandermeer from the Western Bulldogs is very quickly becoming the most unlikable player in the AFL. I mean, what do you have to gain from making such a statement like that, Corns? Mate, you were very unlikable as a footballer yourself. and you're very unlikable as a media analyst and antagonist and whatever else you do. But you know what? Everybody recognises the fact that you were a really good footballer. You're a premiership player. You come from I guess, South Australian football royalty family. Your brother and your dad were great footballers as well. Everybody understands that. And yeah, we're critical of you because you say a lot of stupid things that you know are going to get a reaction. Now, you're not going to listen to this. You're not even going to give a shit about me. Oh, I'm not even a park footballer. I'm an old bloke who's, I don't know, probably your dad's vintage. I have no idea what your dad is, but I think he's a bit older than me. But anyway, he's probably as old as my dad. But the point I'm making is that I'm a nobody, but I can still sit here and tell you and everybody else in the media, Sam McClure, all these other guys that just scramble over themselves to be the first to get a story out, not caring what they're saying about any particular person or any football clubs or supporter bases or playing groups, coaches. You're so desperate to beat a guy that you just don't give a shit. You just say what you want to say because you know it's going to get the clicks on your media organizations, social media. Their YouTube's going to get the views. The TikTok's going to blow up. Their Instagram's going to blow up. Their X is going to blow up. Their Facebook is going to explode. And their sponsors and their advertisers and all the gambling companies that invest massive amounts of dollars in them are going to be rubbing their hands together. So I understand why you do it. I don't like the fact that you do it. A lot of players will come out and say, "Oh, look, I don't watch the TV shows or listen to the radio, or I don't have a look on social media or anything like that." They do. They do watch all the footy shows. Half the time, their mates are on there as guests or whatever, their coach is on there, and they want to hear what the coach has got to say or their mates. Or they just love footy. Like a lot of the guys are real footy heads, and they just want to listen to people talking about footy, and they'll consume everything. A lot of them listen to podcasts about footy. A lot of them got a lot of spare time, and they do look on social media. And we hear about it all the time. They get some really nasty, crappy messages in their inboxes after a loss or after they miss a shot at goal. It does play on their minds. I mean, look, I've seen some really shitty things written about me on social media over the years, and nowhere near to the extent of what gets said about footballers in the AFL. And yeah, I know it's just words, but a lot of it does hurt, and it does. You know, like people writing on, say, for example, so we're Brisbane Lions fans. So people writing on the Brisbane Lions social media, some of the stuff they write about players like Eric Hipwood or Charlie Cameron lately, and so on and so forth. How would you like it if somebody went to your workplace's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, where your workplace, say you work in an office in sales, and a whole bunch of random people who don't know you personally or anything about you write a lot of crap about you on there, a lot of personal attacks, racist, sexist, whatever. You're not going to like it. It's going to get to you. It's going to live rent-free in your head for a while. So have a good old think about what you say about players on the internet. Now, these journalists, and half of them aren't journalists, they're just people who got a gig in the media, is going to become a flashpoint where it really does I can't even really think of the words I want to use here, but it's going to break someone. Someone is going to snap, and there is starting to get a lot of pushback from the independent media, from coaches, from players. We saw the Luke Beveridge and Kane Cornes exchange. I mean, Kane Cornes comes up again. We saw that exchange. We've heard Nathan Buckley in the past. I mean, he's in the media now, but when he was a coach, there were plenty of times when he came out and said that these scoop people, newsbreakers, whatever they want to call themselves, scooper poopers, I don't know, really need to fact check a lot of their statements before they come out with it. I mean, Sam McClure absolutely comes out with some junk. And I actually want to say, look, I think it was on the the Footy with Broden Kelly podcast, the episode he did with Marnie Vinyl this week, where I'm pretty sure it was Marnie Vinyl was discussing the language used by a lot of these newsbreakers, where what they say between, I guess, that there's a big difference between this is definitely something that's happening, or this is what I've heard, or this is the rumor, but we don't know the truth. And we don't get that second option very often. It's just like forthright. Sam McClure coming out a couple of years ago saying, "Oh, Harley Reid's definitely not going to the West Coast Eagles," where every other news service was reporting, well, there are little bits of talk and rumors that the Eagles aren't going to pick him up. They're going to do this. Now, that second option is, well, yeah, okay, we think this might happen, but we don't know. So fair enough. And that kind of is the end of the discussion. But then when someone who is in a position of, I guess, power within the industry comes out and says something really straight to the point and says, this is definitely how it is, people stand up and listen, or they sit up and listen, they click, they watch the video, they listen to the podcast, they listen to the snippets, they get on the TikTok and watch the little shorts about it, and they talk about it. And they, like the Vegas trip, that has been categorically proven to not have been what it was said of. They didn't even go to Vegas, like some of the things being said about Willie Rioli in recent times. A lot is being said about umpires lately, and I've been guilty of doing a bit of umpire bashing, which I've got to be better. And yeah, look, players read all this, they listen to it, they watch it. It affects them. So just, I don't know, to quote, I guess, what a lot of people are saying in this day and age, just be better. Be better people. Right, I'm going to move on from that and get right into the game info. So, round 11 of the AFL, we play Hawthorn, our so-called bogey team, who have beaten us the last 5 times. And now that dates back to, I'm pretty sure, the round 1 of 2020. We haven't played them a lot of times over the last 5 years. I think this year might be the first time we play them twice in a season since 2019. Happy to be proven wrong. And I generally am proven wrong on a lot of things. So it's at the MCG, 4:15 traditional time slot. That's local time, and it's the time of half the country. So if you're not in Victoria, Queensland, Tasmania, or ACT or New South Wales, then just adjust that time to suit your time zone. And the gates open to the public at 2:30, and the posh people who get to go in the MCC, they can get in half an hour earlier. It's only half an hour. It's not that big a deal. You can watch the game on Fox and KO. Queenslanders, just double check Channel 7 guides, because I believe you might be getting a delayed telecast on one of the Channel 7s, 7+, 7 Mate, something like that. And radio, Triple M, ABC, 3AW, and AFL Nation, and SEN. So if you're watching on Fox or KO and you don't like the commentators, you can sync the SEN app this week. The club will have a pop-up shop on Gate 2 or outside Gate 2 where you can buy merchandise. They want everybody to load up big on the Indigenous Sir Doug Nicholls round jerseys, the home and away ones. So if you've got plenty of disposable cash, spend it directly with the club. Don't get it from anywhere else. Don't get any cheap knockoffs from Bali, which I found someone in my local area was trying to sell some of them recently for $20, and I just said, nah. I just would rather not be able to afford the real one than spend the $20 there on a fakie. Yeah, I guess a lot of other information. I don't think there's a post-game function. I haven't heard anything, but you never know. There might be something announced on Saturday morning. The ins and outs. So we'll go with the home team first, the Hawkers. Just having a look quickly. So the outs are Ned Reeves, the ruckman, is injured. Finn McInnes is managed. And Bailey McDonald and Cal Shadir have been admitted. So that's a bit rough on Cal Shadir. I think He only just came back for one game last week after a long injury layoff and a lot of injury trouble. So hopefully he gets back for the Hawks. I'm definitely not sad that he is not playing this week because he is a really good footballer and probably would have stretched our defence a little bit by adding that extra bit of height down there. And the ends for the Hawks, Jarman Impey, who had a week off because his wife had a baby. Jack Gunston's back, and Jack Gunston is almost John Coleman this year. I heard someone say that on another podcast a couple of days ago. It's probably one of the other Lions ones. So if it was one of you guys, sorry guys, but also credit where it's due to whoever said it first. Lloyd Meek is back in, so it's basically a straight swap with Ned Reeves there, and Connor Nash is back for the Hawks as well. Now, for the Lions, Kadeem Coleman has pulled up a bit sore, which you can expect. First game at AFL level in a year and a half, and obviously the game moves a lot faster and is more physical than the couple of AFL games he played in pre his return to the AFL. So, yeah, this is a bit of general soreness and a few bumps and bruises. As far as I know, it's nothing to be too worried about, and no issues with his knee other than just a bit of general fatigue. And Connor O'Kenna, that's Connor McKenna's cousin. I digress. Connor McKenna has been omitted, so it was a bit rough on Kenny because I thought last week as a sub he came on and played with intent and really wanted to work hard to try and get the team over the line, but also understand that he's probably going to need to play a full game in the VFL just to get some run into his legs as well. Now, the ins, firstly, Jared Berry returns from his concussion protocols, which is great for us structurally and brings a bit more heart and soul into the team as well. And Devon Robertson has come in. Now, interesting, a lot of people on the socials probably haven't realised that Dev Rob has been playing around half-back a lot in the VFL, so I would assume he's coming in for Kadeem Coleman as a bit of a straight swap there, although he may start as the sub. Now, I don't think he's pushing Lachie Neale or Josh Dunkley out of the midfield anytime soon, and rightly so. I mean, the guys are both absolute champions. They're the two best, of the experienced midfielders, they're the two best we've got. Obviously, there's a couple of young fellas that are coming through who I guess could surpass them pretty quickly. I think probably Dev Rob will be the sub, maybe Levi Ashcroft. But, yeah, most likely Dev Rob there. And, well, my world-famous tip, I am going to pick the Lions to break the hoodoo. Chris Fagan is all about breaking the hoodoos. He loves it. And I'm pretty sure prior to us losing the last 5 games, we won the previous 5 games. It's been one of those things where when we've been good, we've been losing to the Hawks, and when they've been good and we've been rubbish, we've been beating them. So it's a bit of an up and down. And I guess with the passing of Robert Walls just over a week ago, we were reminded of the famous shade game in which the Hawks got hot and when stood in the shade, and our Brisbane Bears boys saw it. I think this is back in '95 and took advantage of it. So I don't think it's going to be hot at the MCG this weekend, but it could be pouring out with rain, or it could be something else, and could be just something in the body language that our boys sees on. But yeah, look, I'm picking our boys. I think it's going to be a close one, 13 points. And I think Lachie Neale bounces back, gets 30 plus, really good ones. I know he got 30 last week, but there were 30 damaging disposals. I think this week he's going to get 30 damaging, probably kick a couple of goals. And Noah Answorth to bounce back. He had a shocker last week. We all acknowledge that. I think he acknowledges it too. And, yeah, I will be there. Now, I will not be at the VFL just because the fixtures have come out for the under-18s and my son is playing at 10 o'clock. So, in Geelong. So, yeah, I can't double up there, unfortunately, because the VFL is at Box Hill City Oval at 11:05 a.m. Again, that's local time in Victoria. And you'll be able to watch that in the streaming service through the AFL app. So just go into the AFL app or the AFL website, click on the link to the VFL fixture, or there's also a separate link where it says watch the VFL here or something like that. So just, jump on that. And you can watch it if you can't go. And if you can go, now I've been informed by Hooch, who's one of our loyal listeners, friend of the show, that Laburnum Station is only a very short walk from Box Hill to the Oval. It's the closest one. You've also got Blackburn and Nunawading in between there and Mitcham. So the reason why I mentioned Mitcham earlier in the weekend last week is just because there's a good shopping strip with a lot of good shops. Nunawading Station, you kind of got a KFC and a Macca's nearby, but Blackburn, I think, has got a couple of cafes and a pub. But yeah, look, Laburnum Station, get off there, just walk across the Maroondah Highway, Whitehorse Road, I think it's called at that end, and you're over the road at the Box Hill City Oval. Now, I'm pretty sure if you get back on the same train at Laburnum Station, it will take you through, I'm going to say, Richmond Station on the way back, which is where you can get off and go walk across the road straight to the MCG. So that's good. Now, if you desperately need a coffee and you can't afford to buy one for $800 at the VFL, and look, I've never been to a game at Box Hill City Oval since Brisbane's been in the VFL reserves comp, so it might be different at other grounds. But yeah, food and drinks and coffees and stuff at the VFL is a farce. Do something, Andrew Dillon, make things better, make it more affordable. So, yeah, there's a big Shell servo across the road. And as far as servo coffees go, the Shell's probably the better ones of just, the old punch a button and it pours into your cup for $2 situation. So, yeah, grab yourself a coffee from the Shell, scan your flybys and get on the train and head back to the MCG. All right, that's all of that. Into a bit of Q&A now. So Steve has sent in a message regarding Charlie Cameron, and he says, there's been a lot of fan talk about him going back to the VFL to find form. What are your thoughts? So I'm just going to whip out the old dog and bone here. Got a couple of screenshots that I saved from a little bit earlier. It's like, here's what I prepared earlier. So this season, Charlie Cameron, disposals, he's averaging 9.8. For his career, he's averaging 11.3. So it's a little bit of a difference, but not a great deal. And I mean, look, he's over 30 now. You expect there's going to be a little bit of drop off. Now, his kicks 7.8 this year, handball's 8.2, so about the same. Handball's one less than his career average. Marks is actually taking 4.4 this season per game, 3.4 career average. So he's up on marks, and that does list him as above average on champion data. Tackles, he's averaging 2 per game, career and currently. Out of goals, he's rated elite for his position, for his career, 1.7 per game and 1.0 this season. So he's kicked 8 goals in 8 games. So two games of 3, though. So, yeah, there are some concerns with his kicking for goal, and I guess it could be a confidence thing. He knows the answer to that. So, look, yeah, I don't think he's going too badly overall. He's kind of delivering a little bit here and there on what he needs to deliver. And we have to understand that, yeah, he's played a lot of games of football. He's not 23 anymore like he was when we recruited him. There is going to be a natural drop-off after 30. That generally happens. And we do have to understand as well that he's always going to get one of the better defenders on him, which takes that guy away from a Kai Lohman or a Cam Rayner or Zach Bailey or whoever. So, yeah, look, I don't think he needs to go back to the VFL to learn how to kick a football. He's not going to learn anything in the VFL that he doesn't already know how to do. I think that's I don't know, I don't like that. Experienced player needs to go back to the VFL. They don't do anything differently in the VFL. They play pretty much the same style of football, but the intensity is lower. The skill level of the opposition and some of your teammates is not going to be as high because that's why it's the VFL, not the AFL. Look, there could be a point at some stage during the season where Fagan says to him, look, mate, have a week or two off and just recharge the batteries, get yourself flying for the finals, and we'll give Will McLaughlin or Darcy Craven a game. Nothing wrong with that. I just think that the alarm that's been displayed by a lot of fans is probably a little bit over the top at the moment. There's really no cause for concern for the team overall, in my opinion, but it's always a watch and act. All right, so Mitch has sent in a question regarding Noah Answorth, and I already don't like this question. Why do we keep picking Noah Answorth? He's the turnover king. All right, so just bear with me. I'm going to look up Noah Answorth's Rooney's on my phone. Probably should have had this waiting for me ready. So, all right, Noah Answorth. Career. I mean, look, most of his stats are marked as below average or average by champion data, but I mean, he's a lockdown defender. You're never going to get a lot of the ball every week. That's just how it is. Looking through, no, it doesn't have his stats on. Oh, here we go, more stats. Here we go. He's averaging 13.5 disposals at 82% efficiency for the season. So his efficiency is regarded as above average. Klanger's 2.4 per game. I guess that's kind of turnovers, isn't it? Here we go, turnovers, 2.6 per game. So, well, 2.5 per game of his disposals are turned over, which means that 11 of them are not. That's pretty good. I don't mind that. I'm happy with that. I think Noah does a really good job. Excuse me. I think for the most part this season, his form has been excellent and really outstanding. He's really stepped up without Brandon Starcevich in the team. He's taken on that role a lot more, and he earns his place in the team. Yeah, he had a bad week last week. He's on Cozzy Pickett, who's a gun. Like, not many guys can walk away and say that they have beaten Cozzy Pickett one-on-one every time they've played against him. So, yeah, one down week does not a season make. Let's put it that way. All right, so Witter, good friend of the show, Witter always sends me in a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. So Witter has sent in a question or two about the ruck and about a VFL player. So the first question is, should we invest in some ruck depth at the mid-season draft? I say yes. Look, I know Caelan Lane wasn't going to play any football this year because of his ACL, but he's a ruckman and we did listed him. And, you know, obviously in recent years we've lost Tom Fullerton and, yeah, one or two other guys. We've obviously lost Joe Danaher through retirement as well. Connor Ballenden was another one we delisted who was a ruckman / key position player. So we've lost a bit of depth, and we've lost more with the injuries to Henry Smith, Sam Day, and Oscar McInerney now as well. Ty Gallup and Zane Zakostelski, as we've sort of mentioned, are not going to play as a ruckman in the AFL. They just aren't. They can sort of manage it in the VFL against certain teams, but they're not going to be able to win that position every week. Darcy Fort, I thought he's been okay. I mean, obviously, Max Gawn got a win against him last week, but Max Gawn, 7-time All-Australian for a reason, right? Yeah, look, I think we probably need to get some backup there because obviously we're still having trouble with that. I guess the Joe Danaher role as people in other branches of the media and on other Lions podcasts refer to it as. I don't think Sam Day is going to be coming back as quick as what the club injury list states, but again, that's a wait and see on that. So, yeah, I think we do need to invest. Maybe there's someone sitting around in the VFL or one of the other state leagues, the Sanford Waffle, whatever, who's a big boy and playing a lot of good football in the ruck. Braden Crossley, was he picked up? I don't think so. He, I think, where was he? He was at Southport last year. I don't know if he's there this year. Just racking my brain. I'm not 100% on that. But yeah, if he's at Southport, I mean, he's a guy we could pick up, put him on a 6-month contract. And, if we continue to not have any depth in the ruck, well, then why the hell not? What have we got to lose? Yeah, I'm sure he's matured from the issues he had as a youngster when he was at the Suns. And we're all about second chances at this football club, I believe. Right, so the other question from Widar was, when do you think Luke Beacon will debut? That is a very good question that I do not have a categoric answer for because, one, I'm just a fan like you, and two, when there's been opportunities for him to potentially come into the team, they've picked other players, like, for example, Kadeem Coleman, Shadow Brain a few times last year, and some other guys. I think he's ripe. He's ready to go. He's up for it. What have they got to lose by picking him? I personally would have picked him instead of Devon Robertson this week if it's a straight swap for Kadeem Coleman. Now, Dane Zorko could play a different role. He's played enough football to be able to just switch over and do what it needs to do, or Dane Zorko could also have a week off or beat us up. That's not going to hurt him. He's 36 years old. He's played a lot of football. He's a team player. He's a former captain. He knows how it works. So, yeah, I mean, look, I don't know when Luke Beacon will debut. I don't know if he will this year. I would like to see it, though. And we're going to move on. So, Sean has sent in, and I've seen a couple other people posting this in various social media areas over the course of probably the last 12 months since Stewie Jew started working for the club. So Sean has said, do you think the club has a plan for replacing Fagan when he retires, and is it Dewey? The answer to both of those questions is, the first one is yes, of course. Second one is, I hope so. I think Dewey's the next logical step, in my opinion. The club have I guess, added to his role and tasks that he does for the club. I'm pretty sure he's there a lot more often than the one day a week he was there for last year. I think he was done dirty by the Suns or the AFL, who were the puppeteer of the Suns to try and get their man Dimmer Hardwick in because, they wanted to try and sell that club to the public to get a bit more interest in him. And obviously Dimmer's doing some good things there now because they're potentially going to play finals for the first time and they're still in the top 4 with a game in hand. But yeah, look, I think Dewey did a lot of the early work, a lot of the hard work on those guys that are on the list there now. And, pretty sure Dimmer said 80% of the Suns' next premiership team is already there when he first walked into the club. So that was a good nod and a bit of a tip of the hat to Dewey as well. Look, yeah, he's probably my vintage. So, yeah, around about the late 40s, 50-ish. Yeah, I think he's a logical one. But look, Ben Hudson in the VFL is also potentially a good choice. He is a really good strategic coach and a really good motivator and just a smart all-round cookie. And I do have a big man crush on the big fella, Big Hutto. Always have since he came to the club, except for that little period where he retired from playing for us and went and played VFL for Collingwood. Couldn't have him for that little short period, but he came back and we love him. So, yeah, and, yeah, I don't know if any of our other assistants are really putting their hand up and saying, make me the man when Fagan retires. And look, Fagan's not going to retire this year or next, I don't think. I reckon he's still got some unfinished business, and while he's still coaching well and while he's still got the playing group on side, there's no need to move on that. And Stewie's still a pretty young man as well. So if he is the next in line, there's plenty of time. Okay, so Sharon, I toss and turn about reading this out in its entirety, and you'll understand why probably in the first couple of sentences. So Sharon said, I listened to all three of the Lions pods. There's only three, I thought. The main event isn't around anymore, I don't think. I did listen to that a couple of times. Yeah, didn't mind it. But, okay, so, yeah, it is us, the Raw Deal and the Fancast with those two guys. So, all right, back to what Sharon said. So I listened to all three of the Lions pods. One was really sooky about the almost making out the players did it to hurt their hosts intentionally. Okay. I'm going to take your word on that. The other more well-known one claims we're in a massive slump and have a premiership hangover, all based on the last game. Yeah, I kind of did pick up on that vibe a little bit. They did get much more positive as their episode went on. And I do love listening to Dom and Fish, and Dom is a good friend of the show. We've had him on a couple of times now. And a couple of really good, knowledgeable guys who are, well, Dom's definitely a diehard Lions man. I think Fish hedges his bets with us and the Suns, but yeah. So Sharon says, this is directed at me. Even though you weren't thrilled with the loss, and no, I was not, at least you had lots of positives and realistic expectations for us as fans. Did I just say expectations? Expectations. God, I'm shocking. This is why you are my first go-to every week. Keep it up and wish Alex all the best. Who's Alex? It's Alistair. Don't worry, he's used to it. He's been copying Alex and Alan since he came on the pod for the very first time at the start of last season. We've even got a little gag running between us. But yeah, no, look, Al's great. He's doing well. He's just had a change of career, and he's obviously working really hard for the money. So yeah, look, Sharon, I guess I've kind of commented on a couple of your things there. It's one of those things, I guess, the age demographic. At different ages and stages in life, we've seen different things. We have different expectations, and we take loss differently. I've been around longer. I reckon I'm a lot older than Mike Whiting Fish as well. So I'm probably the oldest guy in the Lions podcasting space, and I saw Fitzroy in the mid-90s. I saw the Bears in the early 90s. I was there in 98. I was there in the Voss years and the Lepich years. I've seen a lot of loss. I've seen a lot of really poor times. This is not one of them. And I've realised I shouldn't be podcasting immediately after a loss or a draw. So, yeah, I'm one of those people that, I do feel pretty hurt and upset, more so for my fellow fans, because I know you guys feel it too. And also for the players and the coaches and the staff at the footy club, because I know they take it to heart, and losses hurt them just as much as they hurt us. It even hurts the guys in the media, but in different ways, because some of those guys need to point at a goal and show us where the Brisbane Lions or whichever team you barrack for hurt them. Anyway, so a couple of little things that come in. So I already mentioned Hooch mentioned to me about Laburnum Station, so thanks for that, champ. Did I just champ you, mate? Legend. Good fella. And Daz Scott, big friend of the show, one of our number one listeners, he pointed out that Brett Bowie did not play for the Brisbane Bears, and I got that one incredibly wrong. And I think I said in the pod, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I confused him with another player who played for the Bears and the Saints, and that was Danny Craven. So there were two little fellas who played similar roles to each other. And yeah, everything else I said about Brett Bowie, you autocorrect on my mouth. It doesn't work sometimes. So everything else I said about Brett Bowie, absolutely spot on, correct. I fact-checked it all. But yeah, he did not play for the Bears. So that would be why we didn't get his son Jake as a father-son selection. So, and also Jenny, absolutely one of our best and most loyal and very original OG listeners from almost the very first episode. In fact, probably the first episode. Wrote me a really lovely message after producer Steph did put a post out on the social media saying that I was having a bit of a rough time this week. And Jenny wrote me a really beautiful message, and I love you heaps, mate. You're a beautiful person, and they were beautiful words. Thank you very much. Lots of love coming back your way. Yeah, well, okay. Well, that'll do me on the Lions. I guess there's one more little thing. So if you have a GA ticket for the game, well, firstly, if you have allocated seats and you already know where you're sitting and you'll know that the Lions members sort of area is around the cheer squad in that sort of M28 to M34, I believe. Now, it's definitely M33 is where the cheer squad is. And I know I've got some friends who are members who are sitting in M34 section, and I think a couple in M32. So, yeah, that's nearby now. That's the Ponsford stand. So I'm just looking at that now. And as general admin listed as being from Q29 to Q34. Now, this is a level 4, I believe. So the Olympic stand also has Q49 to Q55 rows P to MM. And a Shane Warne stand has Q1 to Q6 and then Q7 to Q15 and a half. Rows P to MM. They're all the general admin seating areas if you've got a GA ticket for the game and you're a Lions fan and you want to sit with other Lions fans, that's the places to go. Look, there are probably going to be some Hawk fans in the GA section. Be good to see what the crowd's going to be. Look, I'm tipping probably 34,000. The Hawks aren't a massively big drawing crowd. I don't know what their membership is, but it's probably more than ours, or maybe around about the same as ours. But yeah, look, we have a really big, solid, strong following in Victoria for obvious reasons. Not just the Fitzroy faithful, as they like to say in all the social media posts. So not just the Fitzroy people, but also we have, I guess, a lot of people who grew up in the early 2000s and may have just been sort of in the impressionable years in the last 5 or 6 years as well, where they're going, hey, Brisbane Lions are good, I'm going to go for them. So, yeah, good following. So I reckon, yeah, we'll probably get a good 12 to 15 of our own people in there. That's 1,000, not individuals. And, yeah, other than that, that's all I'll say about our game. I'll obviously have a lot more to say about it afterwards. Now we are going to finish up now with my tips. So last night at the Health Fund Stadium in my hometown that I live in, the Cats took on the Bulldogs and had a 14-point win. I tipped the Cats by 9, so pretty close. Did all right there. High-scoring game too, 127 to 113. So what's that? That's a 240-point aggregate. That's like the old days, like the 80s and 90s. So it was an old-fashioned shootout, as they like to say. The cliches. Tonight, Friday, 7:40 p.m. at the MCG. It's about 2 hours from now. Essendon taking on Richmond in the Dreamtime at the G game, and I recommend you watch all the pre-game stuff. It is absolutely brilliant and amazing every year. And every year it just keeps getting better. And whether you're white, brown, black, yellow, red, green, whatever colour your skin is, whatever your gender is, doesn't matter. Just watch it because there's something there for everybody to feel, I guess, a sense of what this means to so many people. Okay, so Saturday, 24th of May tomorrow, 12:35 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. Carlton take on the Giants. So yeah, back in that previous game, I'm tipping Essendon, but with trepidation, I think Richmond could also get up. Because they give out a medal for that game. I heard a few people on various pods this week say Toby Nankervis was their pick for the medal, but Big Nank's been managed by his team, so I'm going to go with Will Setterfield from the Bombers to get the medal and the Bombers to win. Back to the other game, Marvel Stadium, 12:35 Saturday. Carlton, GWS. I think GWS get up on that one. they seem to be win-loss, 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 win-loss. It feels that way anyway. I don't know if it's actually correct. But yeah, I think they bounced back. They couldn't be any worse than what they were last week against Wallop. The Dockers have our game. I've already addressed that. Now, there's a double up at Marvel Stadium. So we're getting together around areas here, and I think it's a bit of a test for the AFL to see if they can do some double headers with the women's and the AFL men's later in the season. So North Melbourne are hosting Collingwood. Only 4% of people have tipped North Melbourne. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if they snuck a cheeky 2-point win or a 1-point win. But I think on exposed form, you got to go with Collingwood. So, yep, I'm going with the Pies there, as much as it burns me up inside to pick them against anyone. 8:10 p.m. at Optus Stadium in the West, we have Wallop Dockers up against Yatapulti Power. Oh, yeah, geez, both of those teams are hard to tip, aren't they? Hard to tip for and hard to tip against. Yatapulti were terrible last week. They've had a lot of injuries. They had 5 injuries come out of their last game. Jason Hall-Francis being probably the big one that they're going to be missing. I can't have them. I'm going to go with Wallop. So the Dockers for mine. Sunday, 1:10 p.m. traditional time slot, Adelaide Oval. That is 1:10 p.m. my time. So 12:40 Adelaide time, I believe. Just double check that if you're going to the game and you're in Adelaide, or if you're going to watch it on TV somewhere else. Kawana, the Crows up against Wallet, Marawa, the Eagles, Adelaide and West Coast for those who aren't sure. Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty brutal win by the Crows against the Eagles there. I know the Eagles have won their first game last week, but St Kilda are not on the same level as the Crows as an opponent. So it could get ugly. I think Big Thrill House could have a bit of a day out there. But also, yeah, for my West Australian family, of whom the majority are Eagles supporters, I hope your team plays well, because I want you all to stay on social media or deactivate your Facebook accounts again. 3:20 p.m. MCG, Nam Demons taking on the Sydney Swans, or South Melbourne. I don't know why Giants fans call them South Melbourne as an insult. I mean, they are South Melbourne. It's not an insult. A bit like saying to us, oh, Fitzroy. I mean, yeah, duh. That's who we are. And also, yeah, the Fitzroy Footy Club that plays in the Victorian Amateurs does have a big connection to the original Fitzroy Football Club and has a big association with the Brisbane Lions these days as well. They are hosting Old Trinity this weekend, and on the day that would be my dad's birthday if he was still alive. Diehard Fitzroy man, used to go to Brunswick Street a bit. He would love to see the Roys knock over a bunch of old boys from a private school. That would just absolutely put the biggest smile on my father's face if that happens. So boys, you know what to do. You got one job. Now back to the AFL, and I have gone with the Swans. I think they. I know the D's beat us last week. They're riding on a high wave of emotion. There was a lot of talk leading up to it about players getting traded, players being out of form, the coach being on thin ice. Players always respond to that sort of stuff in the week that it happens. But yeah, I think the Swans are starting to find form. Isaac Heaney is getting back to Isaac Heaney levels. And yeah, Swans for 9. Don't have a margin for any of these, I don't think. But yeah, Swans by probably a couple of goals, maybe 3 goals. And the final game, everyone's favourite time slot, 4:40 p.m. Sunday, Marvel Stadium. So that's 3 games at Marvel Stadium. 4 games. No, 3. Yeah, because Essendon and Richmond is at the MCG, not the real G, because that's the Gabba. They're at the other G. So yeah, Marvel Stadium, 4:40 p.m. St Kilda taking on the Gold Coast Suns, and Suns obviously going into it as favourites with the media, with the fans, with the tippers. They did lose to Richmond by a lot down here in Victoria earlier in the season. So yeah, unexposed form, you got to go with the Suns, but you've got to have that in the back of your mind and say, well, yeah, that happened that time against the Tigs. So yeah, so Euro, the Saints could get up, but yeah, I have gone with the Suns. Ben Long, and I do love the Long family, one of the greatest families in Australian football history, especially in the Northern Territory. And yeah, I think Benny's having a great season. He's taken on a new role. He's taken on leadership, on-field leadership, sort of unofficial role as well. I reckon he'll kick 3 and have an absolute doozy. Right, that'll do me. I am getting a little bit tired. I'm getting hungry. And I've got some things I've got to do. And producer Steph just gave me the finger because I think she wants me to wind this up. So, yeah, get to the footy, get to the Box Hill City Oval, get to the MCG, get to your local footy if you can't. Make sure you're watching on TV. Support the boys. Check up on how the girls are going with their pre-season as well. And congratulations to Craig Starcevich and Chris Fagan on Fagan's milestone game and Starcevich renewing his contract for another couple more years or another year at least. Other than that, support independent footy media, support the independent music scene as well. There are some really great young up-and-coming independent bands out there, and we are actually working on some demo sessions. Not me personally, but other people with our Jamcast Studios organisation are working on some demo tapes, showing my age there, some demo recordings of some young up-and-coming bands as well, which we might preview a couple of them on our channel and on our pod. But yeah, go Lions. I'll see you when I see you.